Death by firing squad. It's been called archaic, barbaric, and inhumane, and it could be back in South Carolina any day now. That state has just passed a law that forces death row prisoners in South Carolina to pick their poison: firing squad or electric chair. It's a choice some experts say is no choice at all. Hear the arguments for and against tonight. Plus, we talk to the brother of the very last American to face the firing squad, and he's got the pictures to prove it. That's tonight on Banfield. Curious thing has been happening in death row corridors across the U.S. in the last decade. There are fewer and fewer dead men walking. It's mostly because the deadly poison that flows from the needle into the vein of a condemned man until he suffocates, that has been in short supply, and in many cases no supply at all. And that's got a lot of states rethinking how to kill their inmates, yet still abide by America's 8th Amendment constitutional protection against cruel and unusual punishment. The solutions to the lethal injection problem might surprise you, and they will definitely gross you out. You can choose to stand before a row of marksmen and be riddled with bullets until your legs collapse and you bleed out. Or you can strap into an electric chair where 2,500 volts will cook you from the inside out, often pop your eye sockets, and usually lead to a sputum of blood from your ears, mouth, and eyes. Welcome to 2021 in South Carolina, where this Hobson's choice is actually being codified as we speak. We are joined by the Executive Director of the Death Penalty Information Center, Robert Dunham. Robert, thanks so much for being with me. And, you know, I feel like I have to apologize for that very graphic introduction. But at the same time, I sometimes think a lot of us forget when we're asked to answer a polling question if we're for or against the death penalty, what actually happens in the death chamber. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, one of the issues with capital punishment, and especially lethal injection, is that it gave the appearance that you had a civilized manner of involuntarily killing a person. At its core, though, the death penalty is brutal. There is nothing that is humane about a process that involuntarily kills somebody. You're just taking their life against their will. And when you go back to a method like the firing squad or a method like electrocution, it makes the issue pretty graphic. But at its core, that's what the death penalty is about. The death penalty is legal, but it's brutal.
So there's so many things I want to ask about, and I want to just start with the firing squad, because quite honestly, when I first heard it years ago, I thought, that sounds like regressing to days of the Old West. But then I was schooled in how quickly a person dies. And while it looks horrendous and sounds horrendous, it's seemingly less horrendous than our other current options. Where is that wrong?
Well, you know, when you look at the various different methods of execution, the firing squad, if done properly, will kill a prisoner very quickly. There's no question that it's violent. There's no question that it is gruesome. There's no question that it conjures up images of frontier justice and the Wild West. But when we look at the other alternatives, you see the electric chair, which you described graphically, and we've had botched electric chair executions in which blood spewed all over the place, and which prisoners had to get more than one jolt of the electricity sent through them. And we've had a spate of recent lethal injection executions in which prisoners have taken 25 minutes, 35 minutes, in one case close to 2 hours before they died while experiencing the equivalent of waterboarding, suffocation, and being chemically burned at the stake. So if you're talking about gruesomeness and brutality and pain, the electric chair and lethal injection don't fare very well. The firing squad fares better by comparison, but the point still remains that the firing squad is overtly violent, it is gruesome, and it's something that turns most American stomachs.
So that's that last point, turning American stomachs. I don't know that a lot of people know that the lethal injection isn't a nice, peaceful way to go to sleep forever. as you said, there have been accounts by witnesses, and sometimes those witnesses are the witnesses who want to see that guy die. They're the victim's family members who are waiting for this, sometimes for decades, and they deserve justice. But they have said that it traumatized them to watch a man writhe for, like you said, upwards of 15 minutes to 2 hours at times, that it is, like you said, the equivalent of waterboarding, that it is not a peaceful death, and that maybe it isn't something that a civilized society should pride itself on doing. But if all methods that we've been talking about so far, electrocution, firing squad, and lethal injection, have their flaws, is there any other kind of execution that could be touted by a civilized society as an appropriate way to execute an inmate?
Well, that's the problem legislatures have, because the method of execution that they favor, lethal injection, is increasingly unavailable. And so legislators have to decide, if they cannot carry out executions by lethal injection, what other way do they have that people can accept. The most recent poll that I've seen on that was actually done in 2015 by YouGov. And YouGov found that, this was before most of the lethal injection botched executions had happened, that a majority of Americans believed that lethal injection was not cruel and unusual punishment, but majorities thought all the other methods were. More than 20 percentage point differences in issues relating to the firing squad, hanging, electrocution. So if states want to carry out executions and they don't have drugs that are available, they've got a difficult choice. Their choice is do nothing, as many states have done, and not carry out executions at all, or look to the black market to try to get drugs they've been having trouble obtaining, or changing the method. I think what it all comes down to is, if you're going to have the death penalty, you have to understand that it is a violent form of punishment. And you can try, as states have done, to make it appear more civilized by adopting this quasi-medical procedure that makes it look less painful than it actually is. But at its core, it's always going to be a problem.
And I do want to get to that, because the way that the lethal injection process is typically carried out, and there's some changes in some of these drugs, but typically there's a cocktail, I think mostly, pentobarbital, potassium chloride, and pancuronium, I hope that's right, pancuronium bromide. One is, so one is paralytic, the other one is anesthetic, and then the other one stops the heart. The theory being, if we can anesthetize someone and then paralyze them and then stop the heart, they might not feel it, but it hasn't worked. But I'm going to ask a really dumb question, and I think it's the same question many of us might have. But if there's so many peaceful overdoses, say like fentanyl, why is that not just a simple single drug option? Because typically an OD doesn't involve someone gasping and, scrambling for breath and writhing for, half an hour to 2 hours.
Well, there's some really important issues. Not so much are there drugs that can kill people. There certainly are drugs that can kill people. But how do you protect the integrity of the medical supply chain? With fentanyl, you've got all sorts of illegal drugs, and you don't know what the purity is going to be. You're not going to be able to get fentanyl from a major pharmaceutical company. Every major pharmaceutical company in the United States bans the use of its medicines in executions. So, it's not a question of whether there are drugs out there that could do the job. The question is whether there is a way of getting those drugs and administering them. And with the pharmaceutical companies opting out of lethal injection, there's no way of guaranteeing that.
And actually, that's another good question that I think a lot of people are curious about, and that is like getting those drugs. For a while, it was the protest decision of many pharmaceutical companies saying, do not use our product in executions. And then, it's become known that many of them would actually supply, but they want to remain anonymous, and maybe that's not possible. Am I wrong there? Is there a piece of fact that's missing in that equation?
Yeah. The major pharmaceutical companies do not want their medicines to be used to kill prisoners. And they don't want it for a number of reasons. First, their medical mission. They are companies whose business is trying to save lives and trying to improve health and not trying to kill people. And the scientists and doctors who develop these medicines are doing it to try to help people. They do not want their life's work, they do not want their medicine to be misused to kill prisoners. That medical mission here, at least with the question of lethal injection, also agrees with the marketing mission. The marketers for Big Pharma want their products to be thought of as products that help people. And they don't want their drugs to be thought of as the drug that is used to kill people. So if I'm...
Oh, I think you froze up. But if you can still hear me, every so often we have this... I'm so sorry. I missed some of what you said. We're having the Zoomies in our Zoom call, but I do want to just ask you something about publicizing executions. I know that sounds so... Wait a minute, did we lose you? No, we've got you back. Okay. You know, it used to be that executions were public, and people would bring picnics, and that sounds medieval. However, there's something to the idea that if executions were public now, Americans would be schooled on everything we've been talking about, the ugliness and the discomfort that the viewer has to go through to watch someone suffer to die, regardless of who that someone is and regardless of the vengeance you might have in your heart. But is there something to the idea of publicizing executions that might actually help Americans make a more informed choice as to whether they support it or not?
Well, I think the biggest fear with having public executions is that it becomes a spectacle. And it becomes a salacious exercise. There are two really famous photographs also that help illustrate this. The last public execution was 1936 in Owensboro, Kentucky, Rainey Bethea. And he was executed on the public lawn in front of an audience of thousands of white people bringing picnic baskets. It was a celebratory mood. And the state officials found that to be repulsive. Juxtapose that with a picture from 1893 of a lynching in Texas. And you have almost an identical picture. You have thousands of white people with picnic baskets, dressed in their Sunday best on the courthouse lawn to celebrate the lynching of a black man. The one difference between the two of them is that the scaffold in which the black man was lynched was painted with the word justice. That's the big fear with having public executions. They will disgust a large number of people, and I think rightly so. But they will also be a salacious thrill for many others. I think that the whole concept of capital punishment and the solemnity that ought to accompany a legal action that's this serious, it's just not compatible with that to have public executions. If you had public executions, there would be a lot more very, very vocal opposition. But there also would be a sizable segment of American society who would get a salacious thrill out of it.
I'm so sad to hear that. And as you were saying that, you know, Robert, the statistic popped up that 42% of death row inmates are black, and that compares to 14% of the American population. So there's something afoot there, which is worth a big discussion. Robert Dunham, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Your information is invaluable. And when we come back, I have this question for you. What does America have in common with China, India, Saudi Arabia, North Korea, Pakistan, and Iran? We're discussing South Carolina's recent decision to reintroduce the firing squad as a death penalty option in that state. I'm joined now by the senior advocate for the criminal justice program for Amnesty International, Christina Roth. Christina, thank you for being on the program. The first block of this program, we, discussed with great detail the violence of the death penalty. I mean, I don't think it's in question that it is a painful and ugly way to go. On the other side of the argument is the horrendous way that many of these inmates' victims died, oftentimes far worse. And that's where a lot of death penalty advocates will go. They'll say, why should we take any pity? Why should there be mercy for someone who had no mercy? It's the reason we have the death penalty.
Well, thank you for having me, Ashley, and I appreciate the question. I think there are a number of reasons why we need to reconsider the punishment and ultimately come to the conclusion to eliminate it altogether. With regard to the idea that those who prefer we maintain a death penalty, it should be noted that just like any other group of people, those people whose families may remain after their loved one is murdered don't uniformly feel as though what brings justice to their lives or to the losing of their loved one is by employing the death penalty on the person who may be accountable for that. So that's important to know. And even just recently, last year during the Trump administration's federal execution spree, we saw the very first individual who was executed, the mother of one of the victims, fervently speak out against that execution, and her calls fall short.
Well, actually, one of the positions of death penalty advocates is actually closure for the family members of those who had suffered at the hands of the condemned. And they know closure because, while there really is never closure, at least it's something. So do we know any statistics? Do we have any movement on how people feel, whether once they come out of the witnessing of that death penalty, they feel a light off their shoulders, they feel different, they feel like finally something for them after all of their suffering and their years of waiting?
I can't actually represent that because I do think it depends on the individual themselves. To what you acknowledge, there are some people who do want to see this punishment employed. However, it's certainly inconsistent with what Amnesty believes is compatible with human rights. And that's not uniform, of course, across individual families who experience this kind of pain. On our staff, we have someone whose loved one was murdered, and she wrote to the governor of Colorado last year as they sought to eliminate the death penalty, calling for the specific as being something important. And we see these sorts of individuals all the time. There are lots of loved ones, and we call them murder victim family members, who advocate to end the death penalty. And so I think that really has to be taken into consideration as well.
So a lot of times the discussion of statistics comes into this, and I'm always surprised when I see the latest polling in America of who supports the death penalty. And what it turns out to be is it depends on how you ask the question. And if you ask the question, do you support the death penalty, for murder, 55% of people who answer will say yes, they do. What's surprising about that, and that's a majority, but what's surprising about that is it is lower and lower every year. Like, that is a number that has been much, much higher. Even in the last few decades, I believe it's popped into the 70s and 80s. I could be slightly off there, but there's your flat question. And this is just as of, I think, in the last year. This might be actually 2020. But if you ask the question differently, and if you ask, do you support the death penalty or life in prison for those who've committed murder, the numbers drastically change. And now you get people at 60% who say that they support life in prison, and only 36% who say they support the death penalty. Can you read into what that tells us, Christina? Because it is the same question.
Well, it is a similar question, but I think as you noted in the earlier piece of the segment, that executions themselves can be very gruesome, and that for whether or not people believe that the death penalty is the right punishment for a particular crime, they may not want to see someone, in fact, killed by the state or murdered by the state in the same way that someone who naturally dies in prison would for a life sentence. And that said, I mean, I think there's honestly a lot more education that needs to be done on the severity of life sentences as well. But what should be taken account too as well, which is not necessarily reflected in these polling questions, is the sort of fallacies that lead to these death sentences as well, right? Like, what about the proportionality for which we understand that defendants of color are more likely to be executed, particularly if the person who is a victim is a white person? And we look at states who've made these decisions as recently as 2018. Washington State Supreme Court, they ruled the death penalty unconstitutional principally because they found that it was racially biased. And this is an important consideration for us to take, as well as the idea that innocence is a factor as well. And we make the presumption in this question, in fact, that the court has gotten it right. And we know too frequently that just isn't the case. Over 180 people have been exonerated from U.S. death rows in the modern era of the death penalty. And no doubt, many of those who have been executed were, in fact, innocent. And so, unfortunately, while these questions are
Since
simple,
you just said
I think
that,
they miss some important things.
Yeah, I jump in now because you said, there have been the innocent executed. And to me, I don't care what you say, one innocent person executed is not worth all of those guilty who have been. And to that end, I want to play a clip from a movie. And it's a movie depicting an innocent person executed. It was a 14-year-old boy. Yes, it was in America, and it was in the 40s. His name was George Stinney. He's one of the most famous executions of all time. He was so small that he couldn't really fit in the electric chair. I think they had to sit him on books in order to carry it out. From the accused crime to his execution was a matter of months, and this happened. And the decision against him was vacated. It has been determined he was an innocent child. So here is the movie depiction of the moment that 14-year-old went to his death. Take a look. So that is what it looks like. I know that was the movies, but that is what happened to that child. The fact that, do you have the numbers off the top of your head, the number of exonerations that we have had just in modern science that we've been able to actually disprove that these people were guilty? Because you don't get a mulligan on this.
Well, as I said earlier, in the modern era, which is from the 70s, the number I believe is 185, but don't quote me on that. It's definitely over 180. And I think what's important to note from this clip that you showed as well, though, is here in the US and globally, it's a violation of international law to execute a person who's under 18 years old at the time that the crime was committed. That said, we still see individuals who are quite young who are being example. Right now, Texas is weighing the execution of Quentin Jones on the 19th, who was just 20 years old at the time of the crime.
Yeah. Christina Roth, I appreciate your insight, and thanks so much for being on the program. Do appreciate it. Welcome back to our special report on South Carolina's decision to bring back the firing squad as a death penalty option. So far, we've heard from experts on the death penalty. Now we're going to hear from someone who knows about this particular method better than almost anyone. Randy Gardner's brother, Ronnie Lee, was the last American to be put to death by firing squad. It happened in Utah back in 2010, and Randy is here with us. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sorry that this is what brings us together, Randy. Can you tell me how your brother ended up on death row in Utah?
He was on death row for 25 years. So we never really thought he'd get executed anyway after 25 years. But he had tried to escape from prison and ended up killing a lawyer. Not the lawyer who killed him. And he was going to court on another. He was a escape artist, is what he was doing. He was always escaping. But anyway, yeah, he was going to court on another murder charge, and he was innocent. We don't know what he did at all, or he was guilty. Excuse me, but yeah, he shot the person that he actually shot. The lawyer, he would have been defending my brother. His dad testified in his clemency hearing, just saying, hey, I don't want him killed in the name of my son, Michael Burdell, he'd have been dependent on him. He was an attorney and he didn't believe in the death penalty, but, you know.
So, as I understand it, this was a choice. Your brother was given the choice and he picked the firing squad. Can you explain to me what went into that decision?
Well, he picked the firing squad. I mean, imagine having to pick the way to die, but he knew there was problems with lethal injection. We knew enough about it at that time that he did his research over the 25 years and it came down to it. He just seen that they were having difficulties with the lethal injection process, and he thought, well, at least the firing squad would be quick, you know. And it's, in some points, he believed in the death penalty. He didn't know. You know, I've been educated so much in the last almost 11 years about the death penalty. I never thought there was anybody really fighting against the death penalty, but there's millions of people out there fighting against it, you know, and that's what it's mostly about is education, I think. You know, you educate yourself and you learn what's really going on with it. And it's barbaric. And the firing squad and the electric chair, South Carolina is giving people an option. That's just crazy. They're both, I think, one of the two most violent forms of execution they can do. You know, the lethal injection at least hides it.
When you attended your brother's execution, first of all, what went into the decision making to be a part of that process?
Well, actually, I did not attend it. I attended the vigil because in the last minute there was some confusion over the paperwork or something. I didn't end up going inside the execution, and that's unfortunate, I think. And I say that only after healing for 10 years. You know, I think it would have just helped my cause more if I'd actually seen it. I did want to be there with my brother, but we were outside the prison. They didn't allow us in at that point. So.
You did have a chance to speak with him, however, as I understand, before he died. What did you say to each other?
He just apologized to me, and he apologizing to the family, and he just, you know, I love you, Randy. That was the first time I'd actually got to touch him. It was through bars, and 25 years, because you don't have contact visits here in Utah. Maybe some states do, but they let us through bars, but they still let us touch him, his daughter and his son, and the mother of his kids, and then me and his granddaughter. But we all got in about 15 minutes with him, and it was pretty cool. You know, he was more worried about what the people that were executing him was going to have to go through, because he got to know a lot of those people, I guess, because he's been there 25 years, and he just told me, don't hold it against them. These guys, Randy, they're just doing their job. And, you know, I didn't believe that, not from a gift, but Ronnie really believed that. He felt bad for the people that had to do it. But, you know.
It's actually kind of miraculous you telling me that, Randy. I don't think I've ever been aware that an inmate's executioner is known to the inmate in advance or has a relationship. But you're telling me that those who carried out his execution actually knew him on death row and had discussed it with him?
We don't know who actually carried it out, but there's a lot more than just the person, the 5 people that pull the trigger. You know, there's a tie-down team. There's 3 people that tie him down. There's the transfer team. And that's what, you know, as we were going out on that last visit, they were coming in to get him, which I thought was a little inappropriate. They could have waited 5 minutes. We'd been out of the site. They had a SWAT team coming in to get him with dogs, and you know, and we were going out the gate, and they were coming in, and we knew what it was for. You know, I think that was kind of inconsiderate, but you know, all those guys, they transfer him, they're involved with it. I mean, people around him. I mean, he like most of the people, the guards and everybody in his section. You know, you get to know them after so long. They become almost like your friend.
Yeah, it's astounding, actually. I think if more people knew the mechanics of executions, regardless of the process, there are teams of upwards of 50 people that arrive at the center to actually effectuate an execution. It's not just a couple of people, as you said. It's a massive team of people, all with specified jobs. And like I said, dozens. But did your brother, Randy, tell you anything to tell the family of his victim? And have you had a chance to speak with those family members of the victim much in the last while?
Ronnie actually got to one of the persons that he killed. His son come up to the prison a few days before Ronnie died or got executed, and talked to Ronnie and told Ronnie that he forgave him. He was just a little kid, probably about 4 years old when his dad was shot. It actually took my brother 15 years on death row to even realize that he had done something wrong. The last 10 years, he totally changed and figured it out. And he used to say they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And last 10 years, he just changed his whole tune, and he was just a totally different person. You know, he was pretty young when all this happened. He was in his early 20s. You know, and he'd been locked up since he was 10 years old for basically sloughing school. They put him in a Provo mental hospital for a 30-day evaluation. He stayed there for several years, and he was just a little kid, 10, 11, 12 years old when he was there. And throughout, after that, they just kept transferring him for he was doing little silly things kids do, and they kept transferring him, just kept him locked up in the system. You know, and I'm not making excuses for him because he made the choice to pull a trigger, you know, and that's his choice, and he knows that. He accepted his responsibility. But there was family members that he got to talk to. There were his Mormon bishop that used to go out there for about 10 or 12 years. The gentleman that he killed, the bartender, he was in the service with him, and he never told Ronnie that. But he's told me since, and I don't know how he went out and seen Ronnie, but he knew Ronnie really well, and he wrote an article in the Salt Lake Tribune that was like two full, like 3-page stories about Ronnie's and him and his relationship that he had.
Tonight, we're discussing South Carolina's decision to bring back the firing squad for the death penalty. Randy Gardner's brother, Ronnie Lee, was the last American executed by marksmen in Utah back in 2010. He's brought with him the autopsy photographs from the medical examiner to shed some light on the realities behind the firing squad and what happens to a condemned man who chooses to die by that method. And we want to warn you, these pictures are graphic. But Randy, tell me why you think it's important for people to see them.
Well, I think it's the reality of not just the death penalty, but the firing squad in general here, because you get to see what one person can do to another if they do it under judicial homicide or legal homicide is what I call it. And they are very graphic pictures, and just the nature of the language and the letter that the Utah State medical examiners had me sign before they released these photos. For me, if I could just read it really quick, it's my understanding that the autopsy photographs of Ronnie Gardner are extremely graphic and may be disturbing to family members and other persons viewing them. The officer of the medical examiner assumes no responsibility for the emotional distress or other damage that viewing these photographs can cause. So, when that tells right there, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think you have mentioned before that you, as well as your brother Ronnie's daughter, who are not guilty in any way of any crime, you call yourselves the collateral damage of this process. Tell me about that.
Well, that's just kind of what we are. Anybody that's involved in an execution, or it's not just the family members like I am. It's been a terrible ride for the last 11 years. I've been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. His daughter Brandy has. She still can't function. I'm at least functioning on a daily basis now, but it's something that I just, in your heart, I don't want this ever to happen. I never in the world expected it to happen. After, I just thought it'd be like anybody dying, but the stress that it causes you and the complications that come with executing somebody, it's just, you live it every day. And I have dreams about still executing Ronnie, or him executing me, or me executing my mother. My mom's sitting in a wheelchair. Why, Randy? Why? As I pull the trigger. This is stuff you can't control. It's just brought on by, I think the way that it was like a terroristic, they tied him to a chair and shot him. He was defenseless. Just to me, it don't make sense. It's something that life isn't. Somebody else, one of these organizations would do.
Randy, you've also said that you have spent time with former death row jurors. What have you learned from them?
The jurors?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, jurors, if they execute Lindy Lou number 2, she's a jury, served on a jury, and she talks about my story all the time. But she was set on a jury, and they sentenced the guy to death, and I believe that he ended up getting a life sentence, but he's still alive. But she felt guilty from day one, and she felt coerced by the other jurors to just come up with a decision. She didn't want to be the one that decided against it. She didn't believe the thing, but she was just forced into a situation. And she lived with guilt for years. This was quite a few years ago, but she finally came out public with it, how much damage it did to her and her family, because she had to sit on this jury that had to make a life or death decision. And
I think it bears repeating as well that as I speak with you, if there are death penalty advocates out there who are frustrated by this conversation, Randy, you're an innocent man and you've been affected by this. You lost your brother through no fault of your own. Your brother's daughter lost her father through no fault of her own. So that's why we take on the tone that we take. And I am appreciative of your perspective, and thank you, Randy Gardner. I do appreciate this. South Carolina under the microscope this week by fans and foes of the death penalty alike. That state has reintroduced the firing squad as a death penalty option for condemned inmates. This week, USA Today ran an op-ed about the new law, and I'm joined by the person who wrote it. Austin Sarrett is the William Nelson Cromwell Professor of Jurisprudence and Political Science at Amherst College. He's also the author of the book Gruesome Spectacles, Botched Executions and America's Death Penalty. Austin, thank you for being with us tonight. Let me just ask you off the bat about the argument that you often hear made by Americans that if we execute someone, it would be much cheaper than having to look after them in a jail cell for the rest of their natural life. Why is that not true?
Well, Ashley, it's not true because in the United States, we are committed to the idea that when we punish people, we want to give them their full legal protections. And when we punish people in the most severe ways, namely the death penalty, we want to make sure that we avoid, insofar as it's possible, any errors. So the cost of the death penalty is more than the cost associated with the technique. The cost of the death penalty is run up by the extensive legal process that's required in order to satisfy the requirements of due process of law and fairness in the United States.
So I have read, and the statistics are different state to state because everybody has different, costs of prosecutions, et cetera. Some cases are huge, some cases maybe not so big. But I have seen on average, a death row inmate costs about $1.12 million more than it would cost a general population inmate for life. And then I've also heard that in California, I think in 2007 or 2008, they did a study that determined that the death penalty system costs $137 more per year than, say, a maximum sentence, which is $11.5 million per year. Those statistics sound pretty intense, but the death penalty advocates will say, sure, if those are the only numbers you use, but you're failing to take into account those who are presented with an option at trial to plead out and spend the rest of their lives in prison, and they save the money of the death penalty litigation that will go on for 20 years. What do you say about that?
Well, I say that the cost issue is one issue that we can think about with respect to capital punishment. I don't believe that it is the most important. I think that there are other things that Americans need to think about and that Americans are thinking about. So there's the issue of justice. What is a just way to punish? The way a society punishes is a reflection of that society's values. And it isn't clear to me that the death penalty system in the United States expresses American values. Indeed, I think the death penalty system in the United States, the way in which it operates today, damages American values. As one of your earlier guests pointed out, 185 people have been exonerated from death row. That means for every 8 executions we've had in the so-called modern period since the middle of the 1970s, for every 8 executions, 1 person has been released from death row. That's not such a good record of reliability. It's also pretty clear that race plays a role in death sentencing. The best predictor of whether or not someone will get a death penalty, everything else controlled, is the race of their victim. And we also know that roughly 3% of all American executions over the last 100 years have been botched. So in addition to questions about cost, there are these questions about justice. And then there's this concern that the death penalty actually damages American values.
Yeah, I mean, I say it often to anyone who will listen. We're in the company of people we might not prefer to be in: China, India, Saudi Arabia, North Korea, Pakistan, and Iran, as those nation states that, employ the death penalty. Importantly, there is an argument to be made by many people who say, but science is science, and if the DNA says he did it, then how can we be wrong? Where are they wrong? Where they latch on to that argument?
Well, they're all, in death cases, there often isn't DNA evidence. So the idea that every time someone goes to a trial in a capital case, there's DNA evidence of one way or another, there often isn't DNA evidence. That's the first thing. The second thing that we need to understand is that death cases are highly politicized. There should be a lot of concern and a lot of pressure is put on prosecutors to get someone and to prosecute them. What that means is that the death penalty system is prone to error, indeed maybe more prone to error despite all the protections that the law says should be accorded to death row inmates, maybe more prone to error than other parts of our criminal justice system. The more we look at the death penalty system in the United States, the more that we avoid abstractions, but actually look at the practices of capital punishment in the United States, I think the more people become convinced that the death penalty system is broken. It's broken in the guilt phase because many innocent people are convicted of capital crimes. It's broken in the sentencing phase because race plays an unacceptable role in determining death sentences. And
I think you're right. I mean, I think it's important to say if you can't be perfect, you shouldn't be in the business of killing people. I mean, and I, for one, have seen way too many cases where DNA was botched, the lab was a mess, the prosecutors made mistakes, something was misfiled. So I hear your point. And I'm so thankful, Austin Sarah. Thank you very much for your perspective. His book is entitled Gruesome Spectacles, Botched Executions, and America's Death Penalty. And I'm thankful to you for watching this program tonight. And I encourage you to read additionally on this topic. If we're good Americans, you need to know.